Look, have you ever wondered about the absolute breaking point of the human brain? Like, what actually happens when we cross that line and just stop sleeping altogether? Today, we're going to uncover exactly that. We'll be exploring everything from the most extreme, boundary-pushing limits of human sleep deprivation all the way down to the everyday, silent consequences that honestly almost all of us face when we cut corners on our rest. So, let's just dive right into it.
264.4. That is precisely the number of hours that a 16-year-old high school student named Randy Gardner managed to stay awake back in 1965. For those doing the math, that equates to exactly 11 days and 24 minutes. And to this day, it remains one of the longest documented records for a human intentionally going without sleep using zero stimulants.
Section 1. 11 Days Without Sleep. The Randy Gardner Experiment.
So, on the surface, Randy actually seemed pretty okay at first. I mean, he even beat a Stanford researcher in a game of pinball on day 10. But beneath that surface, physiological and cognitive tests were revealing this rapid, terrifying, almost true crime-style descent into madness. By day 2, Randy's eyes were struggling to focus, and he started showing signs of ataxia, meaning he literally couldn't repeat simple tongue twisters or identify objects just by touching them. By day 3, his coordination completely tanked, and the mood swings were getting severe. Fast forward to day 5, and he's experiencing complex hallucinations, and by day 11, it was a total mental wipeout. Researchers gave him this serial sevens test, where you start at 100 and count backward by 7. Well, he got down to 65 and just stopped. When they asked him why, he said he had simply forgotten what he was doing. His brain had essentially just checked out.
Section 2. The 72-hour danger zone, a timeline of breakdown.
Randy's case was so extreme and ultimately so incredibly dangerous that the Guinness Book of World Records actually banned the voluntary sleep deprivation category altogether. They absolutely did not want anyone else trying this. So what actually happens to a normal human body as the hours of wakefulness relentlessly tick by? Well, at just 24 hours without sleep, your cognitive impairment is roughly equivalent to having a blood alcohol content of 0.10%. That means after just one all-nighter, your brain is functioning as if you are legally drunk. At 36 hours, your body starts flooding with cortisol and stress hormones. By 48 hours, cognitive and motor functions decline sharply. And yep, hallucinations can begin. And if you somehow make it to 72 hours, you hit what researchers describe as psychosis-like symptoms. We're talking extreme emotional instability, delusions, and a total disconnect from reality.
Section 3. Your Brain Without Sleep. The MIT Cerebrospinal Fluid Study.
Now, you might be asking yourself, what is actually happening on a microscopic level inside the brain to cause these massive lapses in attention? Well, some groundbreaking new research out of MIT looking at cerebrospinal fluid, or CSF, has given us a really stunning answer. To understand this, think of sleep as your brain's internal housekeeping cycle. Normally, when you're sleeping, cerebrospinal fluid washes over the brain in these rhythmic waves, clearing out toxic metabolic waste that builds up during the day. But when you're sleep-deprived, that waste is still just sitting there. So the brain desperately tries to compensate. It tries to sneak in a washing cycle while you are still awake. It initiates these massive pulses of fluid flow to clean itself, but it comes at a huge cost. During the exact moments that fluid rushes in, your attention completely and utterly drops. Your brain is literally forcing a microsleep to clean house.
And what researchers discovered next was what they call a unified circuit. The MIT researchers noticed that this wasn't just happening in the brain. They observed that the exact moment this fluid flushed in, it perfectly coincided with the subject's pupils constricting, a drop in their heart rate, and a slowing of their breathing. This proves that a lapse in attention from exhaustion isn't just you zoning out. It's a massive, unified, body-wide biological event. Your entire physiological system is shutting down for a split second just to survive.
Section 4. The Chronic Sleep Debt. From extreme to everyday.
Okay, we're going to pivot sharply back to reality here, because let's face it, you're probably never going to stay awake for 11 days straight like Randy Gardner. But what happens if you just miss a few hours every night? Well, you silently start building up a highly dangerous chronic sleep debt. Roughly 1 in 5 U.S. adults, that's 20%, are sleeping less than 5 hours a night. And when you zoom out to general sleep deprivation, a full 30% of adults and a staggering 66% of teenagers are regularly failing to get the recommended amount of rest. We are literally looking at an epidemic of exhaustion. As Dr. Abhinav Singh, a leading sleep medicine physician, so brilliantly puts it, sleep deprivation is a high-interest loan, with steep payments in the form of health consequences. I really want you to absorb that for a second. You can borrow time from the night to use during the day, sure, but you cannot cheat human biology. Eventually, you are going to pay a massive physiological price.
So the absolutely crucial point here is understanding the difference between acute and chronic deprivation. Acute deprivation is short-term. Maybe you pulled an all-nighter to finish the project. That gives you mood swings, poor judgment, and short-term cognitive impairment. It's rough, but it passes. But chronic deprivation, that is the silent, deadly version. It doesn't scream at you with crazy hallucinations. Instead, over months and years, it invisibly builds up your risk for hypertension, diabetes, and immune system failure.
This chronic debt builds up across all your internal organs. Cardiovascularly, chronic sleep loss spikes your stress hormones and blood pressure, drastically increasing your risk for heart attacks and strokes. Metabolically, it throws off the hormones that control hunger, raising the risk for obesity and type 2 diabetes. But perhaps the most alarming is what it does to the immune system. Chronic sleep loss actually alters your DNA. No joke. It increases pro-inflammatory immune cells, meaning your body is in this constant, damaging state of inflammation, which leads to total immune failure over time.
Section 5. Can you actually die? The ultimate consequence. So, the big question, can a lack of sleep purely on its own actually be fatal? To answer that, we have to look at a tragic and super rare condition called fatal familial insomnia, or FFI. FFI is a genetic disorder that literally destroys the sleep-controlling parts of the brain. Patients lose the ability to sleep entirely, and eventually, tragically, they die. Now, to be clear, death from pure sleep deprivation alone is extremely rare in healthy individuals. Usually, your brain will literally force you to pass out long before you die. But conditions like FFI prove unequivocally that sleep is not a luxury, it is an absolute, non-negotiable biological necessity for human survival. Now, I know exactly what some of you are thinking. It's fine, I'll just catch up on my sleep this weekend. Well, I have some bad news for you. Catching up is largely a myth. Research actually shows that it takes 4 full days to recover from just 1 single hour of missed sleep. Think about that. And if you've had 10 days of bad sleep, it takes well over a week for your baseline cognitive abilities to fully recover. You simply cannot just sleep in on Sunday and wipe the slate clean.
Which leaves us with this final thought to chew on. When you're lying in bed tonight, staring at a glowing screen, avoiding the rest your body desperately needs to clean your brain and repair your DNA, ask yourself, is your late-night scrolling really worth taking out a high-interest loan on your own health? I hope this explainer has given you the tools to rethink your nightly habits. Please prioritize your rest tonight. Thank you so much for joining me,